You've probably seen it all over social media, right? Rosemary oil for hair growth, it is absolutely everywhere. But what's the real story? Is there any actual science to back it up? Well, today we're going to dig in and see if this ancient remedy can really go toe-to-toe with modern FDA-approved treatments.
Okay, let's be real. We've all had that moment of panic. You look at your hairbrush or down at the shower drain, and it just seems like there's way more hair there than usual. And that one question immediately pops into your head. Wait, am I losing my hair? So first things first, let's get something straight. There's a huge difference between just shedding hair and actual hair loss. Look, losing 50 to 100 hairs a day, totally, completely normal. That's just your hair's natural life cycle. Real hair loss, the clinical kind, is when the hair follicle itself starts to shrink or get damaged, so the hair that falls out isn't being replaced by a new, healthy one. To really figure out what might work, you've got to understand why it's happening in the first place. So let's get into the biology behind the most common kind of hair loss. We're talking about something called androgenetic alopecia. You probably know it as male or female pattern hair loss, and it is incredibly common. We're talking over 50 million men and 30 million women just in the US. The cause? It's a one-two punch of genetics. Yep, you can thank your family tree for this one, and certain hormones. So what's actually going on inside your body? Well, think of it like a chain reaction. It all starts with testosterone. Then an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase shows up and converts that testosterone into something way more potent, dihydrotestosterone, or DHT. Now, if you're genetically prone to hair loss, this DHT latches onto your hair follicles and, over time, causes them to shrink. This whole process is called miniaturization, and it's the real culprit here. The follicle just keeps producing thinner and weaker hairs until, eventually, it just gives up. And this miniaturization process is what leads to those super recognizable patterns. For guys, you know the look. It's often that receding hairline, maybe some thinning at the crown. For women, it tends to look a little different, usually more of a widening part and thinning all over the top of the scalp, but the hairline itself often stays put. So, since this is so incredibly common, what's the conventional medical approach? Let's take a look at the established, FDA-approved treatments. These are kind of the scientific benchmark that everything else gets measured against. Believe it or not, there are really only two. The first is an oral pill called finasteride, which you might know by the brand name Propecia. The second is a topical treatment called minoxidil, which pretty much everyone knows as Rogaine. In the medical world, these two are the gold standard, and they work in totally different ways. Finasteride goes right to the source. It blocks that 5-alpha reductase enzyme, which means your body produces less of that follicle-shrinking DHT. Simple. Minoxidil, on the other hand, is a bit more of a mystery, but the leading theory